隔三差五，经常来。
上了岁数可要注意呀。
是不是肾虚了？不能拖着不管哦。汇仁牌6味地黄丸，滋阴补肾，腰不酸，腿不软，调回身体好状态。
腰腿给力，争取再干20年。
腰好日子才好，汇仁牌6味地黄丸，咨询电话400-073-7366，400-073-7366。关爱健康，快乐生活。
前方闯红灯摄像。
And sometimes we can also find the MSG in the sauces and dressings, such as ketchup and mayonnaise and barbecue sauce.
研发中。
We just came to realize that we can do that, and in the very near future, and that's why it's very exciting. And also with all this education we have to our next generation too, because I remember we had a conversation about this, that the best education came from, spreading the interest, to raise their interest. And a lot of young people are at home watching the live streaming of our taikonauts in the space station and digging into the details of their life and everything, thinking about the science and technology that put them there. So I believe that they would ask the question, can I go? Will I go? And the definite answer is yes, they can. And at this moment, I believe we will also find more and more
前方闯红灯摄像， 限速40。
So it's never far to us anymore. It's only a step away.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time, because so far we can see it's quite costly, because the company of Virgin Galactic, actually, they already have quite a lot of reservations for tickets in the future flights, but the tickets are very expensive, and they are sold at prices between $200,000 up to $250,000. So that's quite a lot of money. But I do agree with you. First of all, we're gonna just have the dream, and we try to bring it to reality, and later on, we try to lower the cost of that and make it more affordable to more people. So this is the very first step. So still, we have to say congratulations to the 70-year-old Sir Richard Branson. Definitely as the first person to enter the outer space and by the commercial aircraft instead of the nation-founded aircrafts. So that's pretty much quite a different step.
Yes, congratulations not only to him, Branson, but also to all of us, to human being. And here, thinking about this, how realistic the space trip is going to be, because, now they're selling tickets and they're pretty pricey to the space, but it somehow reminds me of the aircraft Concorde. So when Concorde just got produced and was launched to the public, and they were selling their tickets very pricey too, and not many people can take this aircraft because it's just too much for travel. But a lot of businessmen with this kind of ability to pay for that, they took the flight with Concorde, and even though it didn't last for a long time, I believe it was around at the beginning of 2000, the aircraft stopped to fly anymore, Concorde. And
前方主路限速摄像，限速60。
supersonic, and they break the speed of sound. So we see that history repeats itself in a good way. And here we see the future, a brand new and bright future of us stepping into the space. Conveniently, comfortably, effortlessly. That would be something, that we can fancy in a later day, let's say. Where you want to go on the weekend?
前方辅路闯红灯摄像。
Okay, that's possible, because just now we mentioned it would only take you 1.5 hours to have a kind of a trip.
Why not?
Starting from the Earth and to the outer space, and then come back and experience the zero gravity or the microgravity. You can really have a kind of a feeling of flowing in the air quite freely, and even you've got the chance to see this very beautiful blue planet from the other perspective, from the outer space.
That's beautiful.
So look forward to more news about the outer space exploration. And here, also I would like to share some great news for the rain store. Actually, here so far, the yellow alert for the rain store already been moved. So although we can see during the whole week we're going to just see a lot of rainfalls, but we don't have to worry about the rainfall going to be as heavy as today, because just now we mentioned the average precipitation for the rainfall in Beijing, actually, according to the latest data, is already over 90 millimeters. So that's really can call heavy rainstorm.
Yes, heavy rainstorms. And here we just give you some tips about how to protect yourself and everything in this particular weather. And we're going to have a little music break and come back to talk to you more about weather. Not rain this time, but the tofu we just had yesterday. To talk about with you guys, do you know what is the sunfu we say here, especially in Beijing? And do you know the particular kind of food that we eat on those days? So let us know in the chat room. And we're going to have this song called Heat Waves.
接着又在
growing health awareness that people have, MSG has just fallen pretty much out of favor. And also this is sort of capitalized. This is also, I think, brought to people's attention as one of the huge players in the field, lián, that's the lotus brand, which during its heyday used to dominate the MSG industry, but part of it could be it's just really, bad business decisions, one after another, for this company to reach this stage that its trademark is being sold, being auctioned off, because it simply doesn't have other assets to sell. And yeah, that's the background.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons is that it's about the media coverage of the stories of MSG, because as I mentioned earlier, we don't really have any concrete scientific findings and suggest that MSG is bad for your health from a long term or whatever. So probably there are some research findings as saying, oh, if you just consume MSG in a massive amount, and probably it's bad for your health. And for sure, no matter you just consume what kinds of ingredients for a massive amount, then it's bad for yourself, and also your health. But I think that's probably because of people's rising awareness of the naturalism in food and also the minimalism in food, and people just
say a little bit more about that, because you just made it so much more fancier than it was some other if I was introducing these concepts.
So if we are just going to the flavor created or boosted by the usage of MSG, why not go for the real thing? You just put seaweed into your soup and probably use the real chicken stock or beef stock instead of the powders. So this is the minimalism and naturalism. Like you just go for the real thing.
It's so hard for me to conceptualize, because I'm still trying to, put together what it actually is. It called jīng, or in Chinese? How do you pronounce it?
I think chicken broth.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what? That's another reason why people purchase MSG less. The reason is because people find an alternative, which is the so-called jīng. I don't know how to translate it, but for a very long time, I thought jīng is something encapsulate the flavor of chicken stock, and it's originated from chicken stock, but you just dried it, or with some procedures, you turn the chicken stock into the crystal form, which is the chicken. No, it's not chicken stock. It's a jīng we have. It has a similar functions as what MSG can provide, but the reality is that people say jīng is not as natural as you think. It's probably just contains 40% of MSG, which is just it's the same form of MSG. The only difference is how much it contains. That's the so-called additive. Well, that's the other reason why people consume MSG less, because we have the so-called jīng,
because it's already in these other seasoning that we buy, and also in oyster sauce, in soy sauce. There's MSG.
The word sauce.
前方主路，限速摄像，限速60。
You have to really be careful, and I can't say for sure, but I feel that a lot of younger people are just, wising up to a lot of these different ingredients. More people, people that are younger than I am, and I'm
前方闯红灯摄像。
Whole Foods, right? If I look at the ingredients and I can't understand what I'm reading, then that means there's probably a lot of things in there that I shouldn't be eating. So, and I think a lot of people are doing that nowadays. They're, especially here, and they're just looking at, what's safe to eat, what's not safe to eat, and a lot of people are becoming a lot more health conscious. So yeah, just MSG or monosodium, I can't even say it. It's
glutamate.
Glutamate. Yeah, it's just hard to pronounce. So it's like, why am I eating it? Why am I putting it in my body? And even though there are, I guess, a lot of science saying that, it doesn't cause certain diseases and certain conditions, there are also other studies in science that says that it does. And so it's enough to make you just take a step back and wonder, you know what, just to be on the safe side, I probably shouldn't eat it.
Well, this is something that, as a Chinese person, I think we've seen that your mentality changes, and I think it's kind of similar in other fields too. I'll try to organize my thought here. Okay, so first of all, let's just try to travel back to the 1980s or whatnot, when eating out, dining out was simply not something people did. It was a luxury to go to a restaurant. And I remember when I was a little girl, that was kind of the case. I still remember the first time visiting the KFC in Xiamen in Beijing, and they used to serve cold slaw. Please bring that back, KFC. Anyway, you didn't like cold slaw?
No.
Okay, there's a reason why they phased it out.
Awful.
But for me, I loved it. And
it just sounds terrible. Cold slaw.
I just want McDonald's to bring back the chocolate milkshake.
All right, we all have that.
前方主路，限速摄像，限速60。
anymore and want it to come back, but anyhow, so I think back in the day, like then, we used to just cook at home, and MSG was not used that prevalently. Okay, I'm not entirely sure.
In the 1980s,
80s, it was introduced.
Popular.
Exactly. Okay. Now, like, I for a second I thought I lost a bit of my memory, but now it's back. Okay, great. So back in the day, when we used to just cook at home and everything was just as natural as it can be, but we didn't realize how precious that is and how healthy that is. And for years, it was like, okay, if you can go dine out, if you can, in the 1990s, I still remember the days when eating instant noodles. Anything that's just not cooked at home was seen as something, ooh, that's kind of nice.
That is simple, huh?
It's almost like, you have that little extra disposable income to buy that stuff, and it's not cooked by mom, and therefore it's good. Until, and then as time goes on, as people have a bit more money, as you start to understand that, why is it that I'm always thirsty after having a meal outside of your household? And do you realize, it's because of MSG? And then people's growing awareness of, okay, let's not put MSG in home cooking either, because, adding these little sprinklings of things into the dishes, you just don't like the thought of it. And until now, when you sort of think about, the home cooking, when you sort of prepare everything from scratch and it's clean, it's definitely, trustworthy food ingredients, and just try to limit the kind of seasoning and sauce that you put into your own
前方主路，限速摄像，限速60。
It's almost like, what is this, like a loop? We're closing the loop. We're kind of traveling back in a way that's what used to be seen as not cool. That's just so rudimentary. But now this is healthy. This is what actually some of us would be dying for. Mom's home cooking, that kind of thing. So.
You mentioned earlier how after eating a certain dish or whatever, it would make you feel thirsty or. I feel like it's harder in the States because they have a substitute, or they have something else that you can pile onto your meal to satisfy that, I guess, that thirst, and it's not good for you.
You mean like Coke?
Coca-Cola, exactly. Like the supersized Coca-Cola with the ice, and it's just like, so you're getting everything you need, but when you go home, you have this sugar rush and you're lethargic and you fall asleep on the couch.
前方限速摄像。
Potatoes and oil.
Food coma.
Yeah, pretty much a food coma. So it might be a good thing. that people are reverting back to the kitchen and cooking and just building that relationship with food, because if you get it from some of these fast food places, then yeah, of course you're going to have headaches. Of course you're going to have some of those symptoms.
前方辅路限速摄像，限速60。
So second clean, like your system is so clean. Otherwise, it's how you must be like having major doses of MSG to have a headache. That's just so extreme.
According to studies, it affects women more so than men.
Really?
And since it's in a number of things, right? If you're having some sandwich that has MSG in it, and then you have some noodles on the side that has MSG.
Passed by and I just saw this bottle and I was like, what is that?
Okay,
and,
yoga.
Yeah, and it turned out to be like the beverage that I forgot a few days ago, and it's turning into some kind of monster sitting in a corner on the table. And that is just some small hint for you, like to check your food, like eggs and everything. Make sure that they're fresh and okay, and don't think that you don't want to waste food, because if they are turned, don't eat it. Otherwise, you're wasting yourself, right?
Yeah, wasting yourself. That's very true. Even for the milk box actually stored in the refrigerator, and they're also very easy to go rotten. So it happened to me because I remember I stored it for 3 days, maybe 3 days. In wintertime, it's totally okay.
Yeah.
But in summertime, when I opened the lid of the milk box, wow, it really become the yogurt and also send out the really bad smell of that.
Yeah, I can imagine that, because I just had a similar experience before. So here as a little hint to all of you guys to pay attention to the food safety in the summertime, especially now we enter the 伏天, we say in Beijing, and now it's just even extra attention. So there are also other things that I say we've been mentioning to you at the beginning about AC. And I was thinking about this fact because, like, when I was a kid in the family, we don't use AC that much as today, and we're perfectly fine with the fan. Even with the fan that you use your hand, and you don't feel too bad. And one of the key is to, as the Fu said, you keep still, right? Keep still, and you'll find a peace of mind, and then yourself will cool down. You don't feel that much heat around you, as the sound just say, the heat waves, right? So AC is something will really harm you if you leave it all night sleeping, and especially if you have like a back issue or something like that. Just try to ventilate the room for a little bit for a change. Not bad, and you will survive. Trust us.
All right, 心静自然凉. All right, we're gonna just read some nice tips in our chat room.
前方限速摄像。
3594 said probably the best thing. I'm gonna just read the Chinese directly.
Okay.
So it's like 喝绿豆汤、酸梅汤解暑去火开胃, and also we're gonna just eat all kind of like melons or gourds, like 苦瓜、黄瓜、丝瓜、冬瓜、西瓜.
Okay.
All right, there's so many things. Okay, Yanling also said we can eat all those, the wax gourd, the 冬瓜、丝瓜、苦瓜.
Yeah.
And Hua Hua said, yeah, Fu means lie down. So my idea is like don't move, just lie in bed as possible as you can. And what else? So
Okay.
there are so many things, and here also 1246 said probably you can try the moxibustion, right? 艾灸.
Yeah, right. That
That's
is
very
something
true.
also. And here, 红豆大红豆 said, of course, watermelon, Wi-Fi,
前方
and
闯
big
红灯
fan.
摄像。
That is classic choice, I have to say. Like in the house, if you gotta stay full, right? You stay lie down. You gotta have like a good cool watermelon and some good Wi-Fi and good fan. And that would be very comfortable to spend some time in the house, even the weather is hot, but you feel cool, and that's good enough.
All right, so we can see the summertime, definitely we've got all kind of choices, but at the same time, we see this is the kind of a time period we see a lot of rainstorms and gale. So make sure the safety, and also try to create a kind of a very comfy, relaxing environment for yourself. And one more thing I'd like to recommend is like you can soak your feet starting from now.
Your favorite.
Yeah,
Soak
I'm afraid.
feet.
Normally people think like a soak feet
only in winter time, but now it's the best time for you to soak your feet into hot water for the whole period of Sanfu, for the whole 40 days.
Okay.
You're going to just provide you unexpected healthy effect on your body. Maybe you can get it a try.
Yeah, let's do that. And bye, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place.
So see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
前方公交车道摄像，那就是
parents or friends or people that are around us. I have this habit now since I've been living in China for the past 5-6 years. When I get up or sit down, I go, this kind of sound. And I just, it just happens. I didn't like learn or go and practice, in my room somewhere. It just came out of me. And so a lot of people go, oh, wow, you sound like a Chinese person.
前方闯红灯摄像，
Okay, I wasn't going for that, but it's just really, it just comes out natural. So there's something that can be learned as well. And then the report also mentions how it could be, obviously, when we're in a lot of pain or if there's some stiffness in the joints. I work out, especially when I hit my legs, squats, everything hurts. If I'm going to sit down on the toilet, it's a painful experience. So it's like really, anything is really, getting down low is really, really hard. So that's another reason why we grunt, and it doesn't have anything to do with us getting older per se. I mean, stiffness does come when you get older. The synovial joints, I guess, are heavily reduced, so there's pain there. But I wouldn't consider myself that old, but I grunt quite a bit. So I think there's just a number of reasons from it being learned and from being an athlete, I guess.
Yeah, and sometimes let's say I hang out with Tony, and if we're both, trying to sit down on a chair or trying to get up from a chair, whoa, it's gonna be loud. Because, like, my friend Tony might be going please imitate that noise again. Yeah, and I'm just, and subconsciously, I guess I can just get really competitive. And if Tony's doing that, then I'm just like, yo.
So it's contagious, huh?
Yeah, it is, and I have to one-up him. So there is something really funny about it that's almost like encouraging each other.
Yeah, and I think there's the when you're overwhelmed with a lot of different things, you have a heavy workload, and it's on your mind, and then sometimes when you have this chain of thought, you let out what they would call an orchestra of grunts. And just different moans and sighs, because it makes everything appear harder, and that could be.
So sometimes you want to catch attention of someone, then you make that sound, and
I guess that's another one.
Right?
Wow, that's another reason. I guess.
For example, you're working out in the gym and you just make this grunts, and you just want people to know, oh my God, I work out really hard.
That's not hot. I never did that just to trigger people's attention. I think that's so weird. I mean, if people are just in the gym.
Someone is an exhibitionist and wants to show off everything, like his strength. But I just think when you're trying to make the sound, it's only because you want to summon up the strength
前方限速摄像
in a short period of time. That you need to gather all your power into that one joint, and you're
that one joint, not muscle, right? Joint.
Just joints, and I think it has nothing to do with your age.
Yeah.
But
you did mention something kind of funny, and you do have these, you said exhibitionists. You do have guys that just really go above and beyond in the gym to be noticed, and it is kind of annoying.
Yeah, and that word has many meanings. So I encourage you to look it up.
前方主路限速摄像，限速60。
People sometimes are making these extra unnecessary noises actually by the sound of it. Should it be something that one might strive to reduce?
前方主路限速摄像，限速60。
You're 10 years older than your age, because sometimes my dad will tease me if I make this kind of sound, and he's just like, "Man, you sound like you're getting kind of old over there." So when that gives me that conscious awareness of it, and I think from there you can kind of work to reduce it.
Just be yourself. As long as it makes you comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah, and sort of also keep in mind who you're hanging out with, because if I'm hanging out with Tony, then we'd be a bad influence to each other, and if I'm hanging out with Fengshan, maybe I'll try to silence myself a little bit. Maybe. Or just be yourself. That is what I always am an advocate for. And that's it for today's roundtable. We will see you next time.
Easy FM， 大家好，我是马世芳。
前方辅路闯红灯摄像。
追梦，不会成真的梦；忍受不能忍受的痛，挑战不可战胜的对手，跋涉无人敢行的路。敢于此生求索那颗心，管它征途遥远，道路多险峻。为正义而战，何须踌躇不定？哪怕烧灼在地狱火。
前方闯红灯摄像。
出自塞万提斯笔下的堂吉诃德。我是小斐。和轻松调频一起 More to read. Easy FM. We are the difference. It's 2 p.m. Beijing time.
要听就听不同所在。
CRI Easy FM. We are the difference. 轻松调频。
Now the news on Beijing. China's foreign trade grew by more than 27% year-on-year in the first half of this year. The total volume in the period reached over 18 trillion yuan, roughly $2.8 trillion. China's foreign trade sector has maintained growth for 13 consecutive months. 8 people have been killed and 1 other remain missing after an annex to a hotel collapsed in the city of Suzhou, East China's Jiangsu province. 23 people were trapped when the accident happened on Monday afternoon. Of the people who have been rescued, 1 is uninjured and 5 are in stable condition. Preliminary investigations found that the collapse was triggered by an unauthorized renovation. Further investigation into the cause of the accident is underway. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi says China is willing to beef up cooperation with Turkmenistan in various areas. He made the remarks during talks with Turkmen Foreign Minister Rashid Mirdov. He says China is willing to work with Turkmenistan to deepen political mutual trust, expand all-round cooperation, and enhance coordination on major international and regional issues. Wang Yi says China will continue to provide COVID-19 vaccines to Turkmenistan and back its efforts to fight the pandemic. It's been confirmed that the global COVID-19 vaccination distributor, COVAX, will receive over 100 million vaccine doses from Sinopharm and Sinovac. The Chinese drug makers have signed advance purchase agreements with Vaccine Alliance, Gavi, which heads the procurement of vaccines for COVAX. Sinopharm will provide 16 million doses of its vaccine to COVAX between July and October 2021. With the option to purchase more jabs later in the year. Sinovac has agreed to a similar scheme with an initial 50 million doses available between July and September, and more available for purchase later on. At least 50 people are dead and dozens more injured after a fire swept through a coronavirus ward in southern Iraq. Al Hussein Teaching Hospital in the city of Nasiriyah, opened just 3 months ago, contains 70 beds. Authorities have not provided an official account of the cause of the fire, but some are blaming an electric short circuit for the blaze. England will move on to the 4th step of its coronavirus roadmap out of lockdown from Monday, the 19th of July. That means restrictions like social distancing measures and the legal requirement to wear masks will be removed. Chris Jones has more in London.
For over a year, people in England have been limited in what they can do and where they can go. But from Monday, the 19th of July, that will change. Coronavirus restrictions on gatherings will be removed. Masks will no longer be a legal requirement. People will no longer be told to work from home, and social distancing measures will also be scrapped. The changes come, however, as the number of daily COVID-19 infections continues to grow. The Prime Minister, though, says now is the right time to remove these restrictions.
If we were now to delay this 4th step, for instance, to September or later, then we would be reopening as the weather gets colder and as the virus acquires a greater natural advantage and when schools are back.
Also part of the next step is the reopening of nightclubs, which have not functioned for over a year. Boris Johnson has urged them and other hospitality venues to make use of COVID passports as a means of entry.
It's estimated that around 1/10 of the global population was undernourished in 2020, and that 1 in 5 children around the world is stunted. This is according to a UN report focused on the state of food security and nutrition in the world. It blames conflicts, climate change, and the economic impact of COVID-19 for the rising global hunger levels. UN Food and Agriculture Organization Chief Economist Maximo Torero calls for more to be done to change the situation.
We are facing a huge challenge of an increase on the nourishment of 118 million people. We have 3 billion people that don't have access to healthy diets. We have significant increase in stunting and overweight and obesity. If we don't change the way we are operating in the agri-food systems, we won't be able to achieve the SDGs and the goals of the 2030.
The report this year is based on the first global assessment of food insecurity carried out since the pandemic began. That's the news. I'm Wenjin.
前方闯红灯摄像。
这里是最轻松的轻松调频 Easy FM。大家好，我们是旅行团乐队。
嗨，大家好，我是品冠，
我是尚雯婕。
您现在收听的是轻松调频。
Hey, it's Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars.
你正在收听的是轻松调频 Easy FM， 我们是 Casino Demon。从摇滚圣歌到抖腿神曲，从电视经典到沧海遗珠，忘掉复杂的术语，浮躁的八卦，让音乐回归。陪伴你每个工作日的上下午。Because music matters, we know that, and you know that. This is Easy FM.
对吧？后面的 ITY 指的是名词后缀，也就是说它处于一个状态，这个状态里面几乎是没有任何的缺点，没有任何的瑕疵，哎，永远是坦坦荡荡、光明磊落，是吧？所以这人怎么样呢？很正直，
对，
很诚实，哎，又是感觉 integrity。
中国古人说：“君子坦荡荡，小人长戚戚。”
长戚戚，哎，就这感觉呀。
君子完整、正直、诚实、廉政，因为所有的品质它都恰如其分的做到位了，所以没有什么空的、缺的、不足的啊，需要偷偷摸摸的，需要藏着掖着的，所以光明正大、诚实正直，做任何的事情都对得起自己的良心，也对得起别人。
没错，对，所以这种感觉啊，叫 integrity， 完完整整的啊，没有任何缺陷，对人对己都是坦坦荡荡 integrity。